It was a very cold, bright winter morning, and Bunny Rabbit went skipping through the woods. Skidding and sliding over the crust on the white snow. He was thinking to himself, winter is such a nice time of year when you have a fine coat of fur like mine to keep you warm. I do believe I like winter the best of all, and I like lettuce. To a rabbit, it is just like candy to you and me, you know. Just then he saw a sly red fox slinking through the trees. He thought perhaps he better run fast, but Reddy Fox had seen him too and came lopping over with a wicked grin on his face. "Good morning, Bunny," he said. "Wouldn't you like to come over and see my beautiful new snow house my brothers and I have just built? It has a chimney made of brick and windows of ice and a real door." There's the pictures. Oh, by the way, this is called The Story of Bunny Esmond. Now, Bunny knew he should keep away from foxes, but he thought, I'll keep a sharp outlook, and if any foxes start planning any tricks on me, I'll run away fast. And they could never catch me, so he swaggered right up to Reddy Fox and said, "Certainly, I'd like to see your new house, Reddy." And they set off, and pretty soon saw a lovely white house shining through the trees. "Come right up and look inside," said Reddy. So Bunny sidled up and peeked in the door, and there was a table all laid for tea, and in the middle of the table was a lovely head of lettuce. And Bunny's mouth began to water, and Reddy said, "You see, we wanted you to stay for tea, and I found some lettuce especially for you. Won't you come in?" And then that silly Bunny forgot that he could never trust Reddy. And being rather hungry, he said, "Thank you. I'd like some lettuce very much." So he dropped down to his forelegs and crawled through the door. Now, of course, this was just the chance for which Reddy had been waiting for. As soon as Bunny was seated at the table, Reddy signaled for one of his brothers, who crept up with a long piece of trailing vine. They caught poor Bunny's hind legs, tied them, and dragging him out of the door, bound his forelegs. "Aha!" sneered Reddy. "Now we shall see how long without your fine coat of fur. You're a boastful fellow. We heard how you said the other day that you were so much smarter than we, and your fur so much handsomer, and how smart you are, and now how you look without your fur." Poor Bunny whimpered and wept and cried, "Oh, please, Mr. Fox, don't take away my fur coat. I shall freeze to death. Oh dear, your coat is so much finer than mine. I was only joking the other day. Please let me go. Please, oh please let me go." But the foxes had brought out the cruel little pair of scissors and began snipping away at Bunny's fur coat. Snip, 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 until Bunny was left naked and pink and shivering. And they laughed and jeered at him, and now they shan't hear you boasting for quite a while until your handsome fur returns. Now run home and show your mother. And they let him loose, and poor frightened Bunny scrambled away, crying and shaking all the way home. He ran as fast as he could, but grew colder and colder until he finally reached his home. He was purple and chattering, and his mother was standing in the doorway and cried out, "Why, you poor miserable creature, whose child are you? And why have they shaved you right down to the skin?" "Oh, mother," wailed Bunny, "don't you know me? The foxes have cut off my fur." Mrs. Rabbit snatched him up in her apron, carried him into the house, and called all his brothers and said, "I am going to put Bunny to bed, and all you must gather around him and keep him warm. I am going to get Dr. Wise Owl. He will know what to do. I hope he will, I hope." They all snuggled around Bunny, giggling and tickling him because they thought he looked very funny, but Bunny only wept more. And then Frisky Squirrel hopped in the door. "I'm very sorry to hear what happened to you, Bunny," he said. "Won't you come and live in my very nice hole until..." There's the pictures. "Your fur grows out again? It's lined with good dry leaves, and it's a very warm place as any you'll find." "Oh, thank you, Frisky," wept Bunny. "But how could I ever climb up that big slippery pine tree? Dear me, that's true, I'd forgotten about that. Well, I'll go and find some dry leaves to make you a nice nest in here. This is very draughty place." As Frisky Squirrel went out and came in, Mr. Crow and Old Eagle found Mr. Crow very stern. And he croaked, "Bunny, you are a foolish child. We always warned you against the foxes. Still, Mr. Eagle and I are sorry for you and want to help, so we have brought all the feathers we could, and if they're not enough, we'll be willing to sacrifice a few of our own." Bunny humbly thanked him, although he didn't quite see how he was going to keep the feathers on. But Mr. Crow explained, "Mrs. Porcupine is coming in a few minutes with one of her needles to sew a coat of feathers for you. She has gone over to the spider family to get them to spin some double heavy, extra strong thread." Just then, sure enough, in came Mrs. Porcupine with 2 spools of double heavy thread. She was all ruffled up with pity for little Bunny, and she put on her spectacles, patted him, and said, "Now stand up here, Bunny, and we will make you a coat before you know it." She reached around, felt of her needle, pulled out a good one, and threaded it. And in a very short time, with Mr. Crow and Mr. Eagle's help, They had fitted together a coat of feathers for Bunny, but Bunny inside the coat still shivered and shook. It was not like his warm fur. The wind whistled through the holes between the feathers, and he began to turn blue again. Everyone felt badly. At that moment, in came Mother Hen, and clucking with sympathy, she hustled Bunny under her wing. There, Bunny he found he could keep parts of himself warm. In other parts, he always stuck out, and he could scarcely breathe. When his head was inside, he was in despair and started to cry again. And now his brothers felt so badly that they too began to cry. Mr. Eagle looked very glum, and Mr. Crow croaked sadly. Bunny's teeth chattered, and he wailed loudly for his mother. "Where can she be?" cried Mother Hen. "She went for Dr. Wise Owl a long time ago." There they all are. See? They all went to the window, and there came Mrs. Rabbit and later Dr. Wise Owl, carrying a bundle. Bunny sniffed and dropped tears on his cold pink stomach, and Dr. Wise Owl said, "Here, here, Bunny, this will never do. I've brought something for you that will keep you just as warm and snug as your own coat ever did." And he unwrapped his package and shook out 2 lovely, soft Esmond blankets that had a snuggly fur feeling just like Bunny's own coat had. One blanket was as soft, sunny spun as the other was warm spun. Dr. Wise Owl explained that it was the best to have both kinds. Bunny was overjoyed and danced up and down and cried, "Quick, put one on me, please." So he pinned one of the blankets on him, and he jumped up and down again, beginning to get warm. In the very short time, he was snug and happy, and as if the bold foxes had never snipped away his fur. "There," cried his mother, "I guess the Esmond blankets will keep him warm until his own fur grows out again." "We must thank Dr. Wise Owl for saving Bunny," added Mrs. Rabbit. "He knows that men and women use these blankets to wrap their babies in, because, would you believe it, their babies don't even have any fur or feathers to keep them warm." "How dreadful," chirped Frisky Squirrel. "Why not at all?" said Mrs. Rabbit. "They have lovely downy Esmond blankets, and their babies are just as happy as them and as our Bunny is. Tell us about them," they all asked. "Well, Dr. Wise Owl is going to take me over to Esmond Mills right now to see how they're made, and I'll tell you about them when I get back." So they set off for the Esmond Mills, and Bunny and his brothers and Frisky Squirrel went outside to start to play. Bunny played all day in the snow and never missed his own fur, but he was so warm and happy in his Esmond blanket. Finally, late in the afternoon, he realized he hadn't seen his mother since morning, so he ran back into the house just in time to see her coming. "Oh, I've had such a wonderful time at the Esmond Mills, Bunny. I saw how they made blankets and how very many they make and what different kinds. And one of them big and middle-sized and little, as soft as our own fur. Imagine a whole room full of blankets piled right to the ceiling, Bunny." "But Mother, how can they make blankets that feel like us?" "Well, they get very fine wool that comes from sheep and little lambs, or the softest cotton that must be brought all the way from different parts of the world. And then they are very careful in the way they make these blankets. And everything, Bunny, everything is just as clean as they clean their own houses." Mrs. Rabbit was a very particular housekeeper, so that was a great compliment from her. You see, some of the cotton is brought all the way from India by boats, and some come from long trains from boats. And some come from long trains from the part of the country, the Esmond Mills. They wash it over and over and over and over again. They wash it and clean it, and it comes out beautiful. Men dye it many pretty colors: rose, blue, green, and also cedar. And then they spin it into yarn, and the wind, and wind it on great spools. And they put the spools on big machines called looms. The looms weave it in the yard back and forth. There's a picture in the book. Under and over and make blankets. After the blankets are woven, other machines with lots of sharp points and great brushes brush the blankets to make them fluffy and soft. And what is more, Esmond blankets are made so that they are just like our fur is in the winter. You know that nature is being kind enough to give us double coat of short and long winter, long when the bitter cold winter arrives. Well, the Esmond Mills have discovered a way to put the same sort of double nap on the blankets. They call it a new way of making blankets, the foliage process. And Esmonds are warmer and lighter because of it. After hearing so much about them, Bunny smoothed and patted his own Esmond and said, "Mother, Dr. Wise Owl will let me keep this blanket, won't he? I wish we could all have them. They must cost a lot of money." "Oh no, they're not expensive. I stopped at some stores on my way home, and you'd be surprised to find out how little they cost. I found out that you can buy Esmonds for all kind of beds, for baby cribs, and for great big beds. Some thick and warm, and some fine and light. Some soft, colored ones for bedrooms, and for darker ones for outdoors on the porches, or to take picnicking on the bench, like ones for fathers and mothers and to use for robes, and for little ones like yours to wrap a baby bunny in. And by that time, Bunny was nodding and dozing in his chair. Mother looked at him and finally fondly said to herself, "Bunny certainly looks beautiful in that Esmond blanket. Just think, if he hadn't lost his own coat, I might have never known about these wonderful blankets." I've been wondering what to name my child. I think I'll name him Bunny Esmond. So this story of how the little bunny came to be called Bunny Esmond, you'll now find his picture on the label of every bunny blanket made by Esmond. Tell your mother that she would like to find blankets just as cozy as Bunny's. All she needs to do is enlist on Esmond's. And that's the last picture in the book. I did not realize this, but apparently this must have been a book from something that I had when I was little, because I was a preemie, and they must have used Esmond's blankets to keep me warm. That book must have been near my incubator or something. I don't know. I have really no idea. I was too little to know.